Chad here, and today I'm bringing you guys a video on something that's been pretty popular in the Yu-Gi-Oh scene this past month, and that is NEWGIOH. So for those of you who already know what NEWGIOH is, this is just going to be a review video, but if you don't, I'm going to take you on a quick rundown of what NEWGIOH is, take you through the site, and just show you some things why NEWGIOH is so cool. Alright, so what is NEWGIOH? NEWGIOH is pretty much just a reboot of classic Yu-Gi-Oh! So older cards, older sets, just a simpler time for Yu-Gi-Oh! There's none of the crazy archetypes like there is now, like there's no Necros or Shaddolls or Klees, there's no pendulum mechanic. If you guys have heard about GOAT format, I mean there's a lot of DN tournaments for GOAT format. NEWGIOH uses the 2005 GOAT format as its starting point, but has a much bigger card pool, more diversity. I mean, so you're not just stuck to running things like GOAT control. I mean, there's so many different decks you can run. There's such a variety. NEWGIOH even has its own ban list. Doesn't use the one from 2005 GOAT format. They've introduced some new cards, like cards that weren't in older sets. But I'll show you guys that after we get through the NEWGIOH explain part. Alright, so some things about NEWGIOH. It uses some older mechanics. Some of you guys might not know what this stuff is, but I'll give a link to the page so you can go through the page, go through the rulings, and just see how everything works in NEWGIOH. Alright, so here there's, a list of all the sets that are legal. If I open it up, you guys can see just how many different sets there are, all the different cards you can run. I mean, it's a pretty long list, and it's pretty cool. Alright, so mechanics of NEWGIOH. NEWGIOH uses priority. If you guys didn't play back then you probably don't know what priority is. But again, I'll give you the link so you can go to the rulings page, and it should explain it. NEWGIOH uses old card texts instead of new ones. An example they give on the page is Sinister Serpent. So if you guys have like a new Sinister Serpent, you can see that it has a completely different effect than the older one. NEWGIOH uses all of the effects as if they existed in 2005. First turn, player draws 6 cards instead of drawing 5. I mean, that was an older rule, so they stuck with that. And they even use things like exceed summoning mechanics. So I mean, the example gives on the site, Sangan wouldn't get to search if it's using Exceeds material. But yeah, so I'll show you guys like the cards they've included to make Exceed summoning into this game. Alright, now where can you play NEWGIOH? I'm actually making this video to try to get NEWGIOH going in my community, but there's a lot of different places to play NEWGIOH. They're never actually gonna like host their own events or sell cards, but they will have a lot of NEWGIOH tournaments at whatever place wants to run them around the country. So your locals can run NEWGIOH tournaments. ARGs, actually, I think the upcoming ARG this weekend is gonna have a NEWGIOH tournament like midday on day 2. So that's gonna be pretty cool. The format's not always the same. The format's going to change every 6 months. So that means they're going to give a new list every 6 months. It's not just going to be the same thing all the time. So they're going to shake it up a bit, and I think is really cool. You're not just playing the same format forever. So that's pretty much it for what NEWGIOH is. And now I'll take you guys through the ban list they have. 1 second. Alright, so they've gone out of their way and taken time to make their own ban list, so people like aren't using any ridiculous cards. I mean, when people think of classic Yu-Gi-Oh, they're thinking of cards like Harpy's Feather Duster, Chaos Emperor Dragon, or Delinquent Duo, just cards that are really broken that nobody really wants to play with because of how broken they are. But NEWGIOH's done a really solid job of making a ban list so cards like these can't be used. It's a really fair format. Alright, so you can see, just going down the list, they have things like Chaos Emperor on here, BLS, Stein, Scientist, so there's no FTKs, Duo, Feather Duster, Painful Choice, Reigning Imperial Order. I mean, it's a really solid list. I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you guys. You guys can check it out on your own. But what I do want to touch on is the very last part of the list, which is the new additions to the card pool. So other than all the sets that I showed you guys just a while ago, they've included some newer cards that weren't in those sets that you can play with. So I talked about the Exceed mechanic that they're including. So as you can see on this list, they have number 30, Acid Golem of Destruction. So they have an Exceeds monster that you can make, use the Exceeds mechanic. They've included cards like Tour Guide, Mizuki, Raikou, Wonderwand, Horn of the Phantom Beast into the format, just to give it some more diversity. I mean, like I said before, there's such like a limitless like amount of decks you can make in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's probably like one of the coolest things that's been like introduced. And other than that, I mean, why else is Yu-Gi-Oh! Beneficial? So, I mean, let's say you guys get bored of the format, you don't want to play Necros, or you don't want to play against Shaddoll's, and you just want to play something fun. That is where Yu-Gi-Oh! Comes in. I mean, you don't have to play with any of these like newer cards. It's just simple Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's actually really good if you can't afford like meta decks. And if you don't want to go to a tournament running like a tier 3 deck, and you don't want to shell out hundreds of dollars to make Necros, $100+ just to get a place at a lose at turns, I mean, this is where Yu-Gi-Oh! Comes in. It's really cheap, really fun. I mean, to make a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck, I mean, since they use so many older cards that have been reprinted so many times, everything is just really cheap. I mean, if you want to go out of the way to make like max rarity decks, then that's up to you. But other than that, you can make Yu-Gi-Oh! Really cheap, and you can still be really competitive in it. I think it's one of the coolest ideas, and I really want to get this started up in my Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. But other than that, I mean, I'll give you guys the link. You can run through the site yourselves, check it out a little more in detail. But other than that, I think you guys should all start up Yu-Gi-Oh! Or try to get it going in your communities. But yeah, so thanks for watching the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.